Hey everyone, today we'll be looking at the 2024 F1 Championship predictions. Not the Constructors, the Drivers' Championship, okay? Let's get into it. Starting with 21st, we have Kevin Magnussen. That's right, 21st, not 20th. We have someone else in the table who I know will get races this year. K-Mag has mostly been outshone by his teammate Kevin Hulkenberg ever since he came in last year. I think this trend will continue. The talk from the team this year is that their car is going to suck. Like, be worst of the bunch for most of the season. And that's from their team boss, Komatsu. Now, I know they didn't have the most testing laps in testing for this year. However, they need it. They need it badly. One hope for them, though, is that in qualifying of last year in Bahrain, their speed was 5 kilometers per hour slower than their top speed in the F1 testing. Now, this could be due to different tyres, better setup, etc., more development in the season, but maybe a little bit of hope? Who knows? In 20th, we have his teammate, Hulkenberg. I think he'll do better than K-Mag this season, but the team's package is going to suck. You can just hear from the team that they're going to be worst by a mile. It doesn't seem like their development in the off-season has been any good, and that's evident by Günther Steiner leaving and Gene Haas replacing him with Komatsu. K-Mag is definitely a better driver though, and I can see him sticking around for a while longer. And there might be a couple races in the season where the car is competitive and he can show that. Maybe like Belgium or something, but overall I think they're going to struggle with consistency and also technical issues as well. Next driver in 19th is Guan Yu Zhou. I think they're going to struggle as well. Changing to Kick Sauber is really like a last ditch move to get more money in before the Audi takeover, and they really are waiting for that Audi takeover. I think right now it's 25%, but next year we'll be a 50-50 split of team ownership between Audi and Sauber, and then that's when Audi will really start being like, okay, we need to put in money, development, people into this team and make it win stuff, because right now it sucks. I think keeping Zhou this year is a weird shout, especially with Theo Pourchaire in the wings, but due to the China Grand Prix having its first one in a while this season, that's why they will keep him. In terms of him being better or worse than Bottas, I think he will be outshone by Bottas, even though Bottas doesn't really seem to be fussed. I think Bottas is winding down his career. Yeah, that will be it for the Zhou, I think, for his time in F1 as of yet. And then next, in 18th, this is a wild prediction, because most people would have him last, but it is Logan Sargent. He's lucky to be up this high given his performances last year, but the team does seem to be moving in a positive direction under team boss James Vowles, with a few races last year having really good performance, such as Monza, Silverstone, maybe the US Grand Prix. But in that Grand Prix, Sargent had to rely on 5 drivers, either getting DNF'd or disqualified, so maybe he'll do better this year in a couple of races where the car is just insane. They don't appear to be sandbagging much, as in testing of this year they had a similar top speed of Bahrain qualifying 2023, so that doesn't really show much development. Maybe they're taking a few things off, who knows, but they did have the least laps completed, so there might be a question over technical failures, but they might creep in the season and steal some points away from them when they are in point scoring positions at those races where they are a little bit more solid and better, like Monza or another high speed circuit. Next up in 17th is Valtteri Bottas. As I said before, it does seem to be that he's winding down his career, he's taking it less seriously. I think this kind of low pressure environment really suits him, and that he might perform at his teammate Guan Yu Zhou, but he might not have those like elite performances like he used to have in the Williams, or when he had that 2019 season in the Mercedes where he actually wanted to beat Hamilton. So I can see him coming in 17th, beating his teammate, not by much. It's a coin flip, really. In 16th, we have Liam Lawson. Here he is. You might be asking, why is he here? He's not on the grid, but there will definitely be at least a couple races where he's in. If Ricciardo, Tsunoda, or Perez all do poorly, or one of them does poorly, there will be a reshuffle throughout, maybe. And also, if any one of them any one of the 4 drivers at Red Bull or RB get injured, then he will be in the RB or the Red Bull, as per Marco. And regardless of that, Marco has literally said that he will be given a few races this year to also compare where he's at. So I can see, regardless of whether he's doing well or not, might take up Tsunoda for the last like 4 or 5 races of the season, give him a go, see what he's like, just to compare. Um, that is almost confirmed. Uh, and in these races that he does get, the 3 or 4 races, from maybe 5, who knows? The red RB car will be good enough to get enough points to outscore every one of those bottom 6 drivers in the Williams, Haas, and Kick Saubers. So 16th is, well, all but one of the Williams, because with 15th I have Alexander Albon, who is a solid driver, who'll have a car that will be really good at a few races, and he'll make the most of it. He'll get enough points in these races to definitely beat the bottom 3 and also anyone that comes in at RB or Red Bull. I think with this 2025 silly season being really wishy-washy and having a lot of interchange and possibilities for new teammate pairings, I think Albon will really be wanting to show that he has the minerals to be back at one of those top teams again, like a Mercedes or a Red Bull or something. You know, any kind of opportunity, he will be there fighting his corner saying, get me in, get me in, get me in. The next up in 14th, I think we have Tsunoda, who will be a bit of a no man's land around that position, with like, he'll score a decent amount of points, around like 50, 60 points, but I don't see anyone else being near him that he can kind of challenge for an overtake, like a Ricciardo or a Stroll or Ocon or Gasly. I think there'll be too much of a distance for him to get that. But I think also the pressure of having Liam in the wings, all this fighting going on for who's going to get the Red Bull seat, the rumours around Honda telling RB if they don't put him in the seat they'll withdraw backing for the season. I think there's a lot of media going on, and he seems to be someone that just can't handle the pressure, and will really fail if he does feel that pressure. I think we saw in his first season that he does have a lot of incidents in his kind of driving style, and those might come out a bit more with the pressure that he's definitely going to be facing this season. Then next up, we have Lance Stroll. I think he'll have a difficult season once again. Breaking both of his wrists is difficult to come back from, and I think he proved it last season that he's not at his best. I think the rumours linking him to the Aston Martin WEC, which is the World Endurance Championship project for 2025, are going to build throughout the year, with that kind of being like an avenue that his dad, Lawrence Stroll, could be like, okay son, F1 hasn't worked, let's put you over here instead, you can do Le Mans and stuff, and I think he'll do really well there. But the pressure of all the media saying, are you going to WEC, are you leaving at the end of the season, I think that won't help his performance, and the Aston Martin car won't be as good as it was at the start of last season, so he won't be able to get those points, which is why he's down behind the Alpines, behind the Mercedes, behind everyone, apart from those middling worst teams. Next up is Esteban Ocon. I think he won't beat his teammate Gasly, but who was right next to him, who was in 11th. Their cars is going to be okay. It's going to be a solid car with a solid engine. A few technical issues here and there, which means they won't be able to push Aston Martin or Fernando Alonso, or Ricciardo. But it'll just be an okay car. They'll come 6th in the constructors easily. Yeah, it'll just be a middling season for them with a team boss who doesn't seem that experienced. Ricciardo is in 10th, and RB will provide him with a car that can show his true spirit. He will be fighting for those 7th and 8ths every race. He'll be up and around that pack. The car won't be quite good enough to get podiums or top 5, top 6, but he'll be right behind those guys, and he'll be there saying, Perez, I'm here, I'm coming after you. And that faith put in him by Horner coming back in will be justified. And also, maybe he has the potential to take that Red Bull seat off Checo mid-season, which is why I've kind of put him above the Alpine. Then in the 9th, we have Alonso. He would be higher up, but the package is going to suck. You know he's going to make the most of the package, whatever Aston Martin give him, but it won't be that great. I don't won't be as good as the McLaren's package because they have better development mid-season. They won't be good as the Ferraris as they look really strong. Similar to Mercedes, they look quite strong this season. But the Aston Martin will be okay. It won't be the peaks of what they had last season. It won't be the troughs of what they had towards the end of last season. But it'll just be there or thereabouts. But the driver really is the differential in this ranking, as you know, whatever they give him, he's going to be a few tenths better than their expectations. And he's going to be gunning for that Mercedes seat in 2025 with Hamilton leaving. He knows that Albon might be there. He knows that Sainz might be competing for it. And he's like, no, wait your turn. I've been here for 20 years. Put me in the Mercedes. Let me win a title. Alonso also knows that in that seat, you have to keep your bosses happy and your boss's son happy. And I bet even though Stroll will do poorly, he'll still be like, Stroll is one of the best drivers in the world. He's one of the best I've ever seen. Lawrence Stroll is amazing. He's like the dad I've never had. Just to keep the boss happy, just to keep the team happy. Even though you know it's not really true, and he's going to give you that right little smile saying he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. He's just trying to keep everyone happy. He's really learnt a lot from his days at Renault. So next up, in 8th, we have Piastri. Their package at McLaren might be a little bit worse than it was at the end of the season last year, but I think their development throughout the season will push them above the Aston Martins, the Alpines, the RBs, and they'll be fighting for podiums again at the end of the season, not at the start, because I don't think from testing we've seen enough of them to believe they're going to be in that top 3 push right at the start. Which leads on to Russell and 7th, which is he's going to have a solid year. You might be wondering why is Hamilton not below him, but I think that Mercedes aren't the kind of team to just throw Hamilton out the window, out the bus, and be like, okay, you're gone now. We're going to prioritise your teammate. They have the respect for Hamilton to be like, okay, if you're doing better than Russell, we will not hinder your race to make him do better. And I think that will be shown throughout the season with Hamilton outperforming Russell, proving Mercedes like this is what you're missing out on next year. If you just had a better car, I would be there fighting for the championship, but you can't do your job, so I'm going to leave and do mine better somewhere else. I think the one thing Russell doesn't have, which the next driver does, is being the definite number 1 driver at a team, which leads on to Norris, because Norris is number 1, and everyone knows he's a number 1, and the team are going to prioritise him being the number 1 driver, whereas Russell doesn't have that, which might put him down. Whereas if there's a chance for Piastri's race to be a little bit compromised, with Norris going on to do better, McLaren might do that, whereas Mercedes, I don't think, will sacrifice Hamilton for Russell. So yeah, Norris is in 6th. He's going to have a good year, same as Piastri with the car development over time, and his end of season kind of point tally spiking with those last few races, with the car development coming through. I can't see him getting a win this year, unless it's somewhere like Singapore. What happened last season with the Ferraris winning that one, and the Red Bulls really sucking at that one racing for no reason. Yeah, it's going to be another dull year for Norris, continuing to pile up the points without getting a race win, which is going to make that record of the most points without a win even bigger, sadly. But 5th is Carlos Sainz. I think Ferrari, unlike Mercedes, will punish Sainz for not being with the team for next year in 2025. They've really shown, like they did with Vettel, that they're willing to throw a guy under the bus to get the most out of their number 1 driver, Charles Leclerc. I think Carlos Sainz won't be any different, and they will sacrifice his performances to make sure that Charles can fight for number 2 against Perez. I think Ferrari's car will be good this year. Better than the Mercedes by far. I think there will be a little bit of a challenge between the Sainz, Leclerc, Perez, but with Sainz leaving, you know what Ferrari are going to do, they're going to be like, okay, you're done. Next up is Lewis Hamilton in 4th. He will do very well this season, and to show the world he still has it at his age, and is ready for that move to Ferrari next season. He will show Mercedes that if they just got him the package that he needed, he'd still win another championship. And he will have the adversity of having George still be at the team and him leaving, but he's got that relationship with Toto where they will make sure that there's no kind of bad blood between the two parties of Hamilton and Mercedes, and they will allow him to show his talent and perform, unlike Ferrari will with Carlos Sainz. Next up in third is Sergio Perez. I think he'll struggle again this season as he did last year, but the difference in the car will still be too much for those lower fourth, fifth, sixth positions. But this season he won't get a clinch the number 2 slot like he did last year, which kind of allowed him to stay on with the team. Because if he didn't get that, I know Horner would have axed him. The Ferrari is closer in performance, which is why I see him being bested by the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Max will wipe him to the floor by a few tenths at least in every qualifying session, as well as 20 seconds, 30 seconds in each race. The performance that he could show this season, I think, will get him ejected next season from the seat, and also the pressure and media speculation around having a mid-season swap with Ricciardo will be too much, and I think it's probably too. He doesn't want to deal with it. Perez has said that he wants to see his family more. I think a lot is weighing on him, and having a busy mind, it probably won't bring out the best in his driving ability, and so I have him third. Also having the possibility of Lawson not having any kind of race schedule, being there to pounce in and fill a seat vacancy at RB for either Tsunoda or Ricciardo to go up to the top team, that will be kind of like weighing on him, because every race you'll see in the dugout Liam Lawson's little eyes staring at him, Ricciardo's little eyes looking at him, being like, yeah, I'm waiting for you to slip up, and if when you do, I'm there. And that will be just too much for Perez. In second place, we have Charles Leclerc, so we all know what that means. Leclerc will have a tight fight for second with Perez this season, with them, I think, just clinching it out towards the end of the season. I think having Leclerc be the obvious number 1 in Ferrari this season will help a lot, with Sainz being able to either slow Perez up or maybe giving Leclerc a turn on qualifying, stuff like that. I think team orders will be a large issue at Ferrari this season, with a lot of contention behind it, but I think that in particular will help Leclerc secure number 2 spot over Perez. Ferrari seem to have solved their race pace issues that they had last year, and hopefully that their qualifying pace, which was amazing, can be implemented in their race day, and actually the car be more drivable, more raceable when they need it to be. And then in first is Max Verstappen, of course. It's him. He won the season by miles last year. He won the constructors by himself, and that's gonna be it. He's gonna smash the year again. No, he's not gonna have quite as good of a year as he did last year, winning maybe like only 15 races, more than half still. Maybe even 20, but not the amount he did this season, and not any kind of records he had this season. I think there'll be a little bit more of the bad luck side of it. So maybe like a few crashes being hit. Maybe he might have a few DNFs, like technical issues, which could bring him back down into reality a little bit more from the highs of last year. So that's my predictions for the season. Let me know what you think, if I'm wrong, down below in the comments, and I will get back to you with why you are wrong. Peace.